Okay. So here we are. So question number 1 says graph y equals negative x squared plus 4x plus 2. Fill in all the key features of this function. So this is calculator active. This is calculator active. What does that mean? Yeah, or what else? Yeah. I'm going to go to Desmos because that makes sense. So when I go to Desmos graphing calculator, tell me what should I do if I'm trying to figure out all of the key features? Yeah, type in the equation. Let's see. My equation is y equals negative x squared plus 4x plus 2. I see it. It is frozen. So what are we looking for? What are all the key features of our graph? It says fill in all the key features. Well, all of the key features are the points that are highlighted on your paper, right? You guys see that? So where do you want to start? AOS and the vertex. Yeah. So the vertex is the ordered pair 2, 6. So I'm going to draw that right there. And through that, I'm going to draw my axis of symmetry. Remember that is a dashed vertical line. So I have my vertex and my axis of symmetry. What else do I know? What's another point that I know? I know the y-intercept. The y-intercept happens when x is 0. And when x is 0, y is 2. How many units away, how many grids away from the axis of symmetry is your y-intercept? It's 2 grids away on the left, so I could go 2 grids away on the right. Because how many points do you need? Page 9, sweetie, yes. You need 5 points. So now we've got 3. We only need 2 more, okay? We only need 2 more. Well, when I look at my Desmos, my roots are not exact. That's like negative 0.44 and positive 4.4. So I'm going to pretend it's at about negative 0.5. And the other one is at about negative or at positive 4.5. That's just how I'm going to graph them. Those are approximations. And we're putting those there because they're key features, they're roots. So just put it at the negative 0.5, right in between the 0 and negative 1, and then right in between 4 and 5 on the positive axis. But what if I wanted another exact point? What if I wanted another exact point? How could I find those? Yeah, I clicked on the gear to get a table of values. So I want to see what happens maybe when x is negative 3. Or look here, when x is negative 1, when x is negative 1, I cross the y-axis. All right, I'm at the order. My output is the negative 3. So negative 1, negative 1, 2, 3. So plot that point for a second. So when x is negative 1, y is negative 3, that's 1, 2, 3 units away on the left. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 units away on the right. Because these are not exact points, even though they are your roots. It's easier for us to graph exact points. Okay, you won't have any non-exact points on your test when you do a question like that. I made sure that all of your questions are nice, for your roots are nice integers. Your axis of symmetry may be a fraction of half. Okay, your axis of symmetry may be a fraction of a half. All right, does that make sense? Do we need to label these key features so you know what they are? Would that be helpful? So this is our AOS, and it's the equation x equals 2. This point right here is our vertex, and it's a maximum. This right here is my y-intercept. And these 2 points down here at the bottom are my roots. These are my roots. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to question number 2. Question number 2 says solve by factoring, and there are 3 questions in this. So the first one is already set for us. It's written in standard form. It's set equal to 0, so we can just jump in there. What's the value of A? Does A equal 1? No, it doesn't. So the only way that I can solve this is if I use the slide and. Yeah, I have to slide and divide. So 2 times 3 is 6. So I have x squared minus 7x plus 6. So I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply to 6, that when I add them, I get -7. My product is C, and my sum is the B term. So what are my 2 numbers when I multiply to give me a +6, but when I add them, I get a -1 and -6. So x minus 1 equals 0, or x minus 6 equals 0. What number do I add to -1 to make it equal 0? Say again. A +1. X equals +1. What number do I add to -6 to make that equal 0? +6. Those are my 2 solutions. Those are my 2 roots. Those are the 2 places that this crosses the x-axis. What about this one? Let's solve this one by factoring. Well, A is 1, so this is already set up for us. So I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give me -16, that when I add them, I get 6. What are 2 numbers that multiply together to give me -16, that when I add them, I get 6? -2 and +8. That means x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 8 equals 0. Well, if x minus 2 equals 0, then x is, what number do I add to -2 to equal 0? +2. What number do I add to +8 to get a 0? -8. So for question C, what if I just put this into Desmos? What if because I get to use a calculator, this is calculator active. So what if I just try to put this whole equation into Desmos? Let's see. 5x squared minus x equals 4. Well, remember that my solutions, or my my roots, are where I cross the axis. So when it says solve by factoring, can't I just say what the solutions are? Yes or no? Yeah. What are my solutions? Well, my first one is x equals, where does it cross? -0.8. Yes. What is my next one? X equals +1. X equals +1. So am I going to get full points on that? If you don't show any work for factoring, because this one you would end up with a fraction here, right? So if you don't show any work, you'll miss your 1 work point, but you still get the 2 correct solution points. You get to use a calculator. So if you don't know how to factor, use Desmos, right? The factors or the solutions are where it crosses the x-axis. Remember that the solution has the opposite sign as the factor. This is a question about profit, and you have one of these on your test. It says, a company earns a weekly profit of P dollars by selling X items according to the equation P of X equals -x squared plus 20x minus 96. So I'm going to put this equation in, but instead of using P of X, I'm just going to use Y equals -x squared plus 20x minus 96. So when I look at this equation, it says find the zeros of the function and interpret those zeros. So the y value stands for the what? What does the y stand for? It's the profit. So the y value is the profit. So the zeros of the function, let's see. What are my zeros? My first one is x equals 8, right? This is the ordered pair 8, 0. And my second zero is at 12. So x equals 12. So what does it mean? Well, it means that the only way the company earns a profit is if they sell between what? How many items do they have to sell? The profit is the positive part, right? Profit is the positive Y's. The negative Y's aren't going to be a profit. So they have to sell between 8 and 12 items. Well, how do I show that? How do I show that? Well, I say 8 has to be less than x has to be less than 12. Somewhere like 8.1 is going to give me a profit, and anything less than 12 is going to give me a profit. How many items does it take to have, does the company have to sell each week to maximize their profit? Well, the maximum happens at the y-intercept. So how many items do they have to sell? They have to sell 10 items. They have to sell 10 items. Remember that the maximum happens at the vertex. Yeah. You're welcome. Are we ready to go to the next one? Okay. Page 10. You have another quadratic function. A small rocket is launched upwards. Its height in feet is given by the function h equals negative 16 t squared plus 96t. So where t is the time. So this is a function that looks like this. Here's my rocket. It starts, it goes up in the air and comes right back down. Okay. So it says draw a sketch of the situation. Well, when it first starts, t is 0 because my y-intercept is 0. So there's no plus a constant at the end. So my y-intercept is 0. I don't know how long it takes for it to hit the ground, but I know that those are my roots. Okay. And I know that this is going to be the maximum height that it reaches. I don't know what that number is, but there's a sketch of its like pattern. That's what it does. Starts off on the ground, goes up in the air, reaches a maximum, and then it comes back down. It says state the independent and dependent variables. Well, time is your x, so time is independent. Time is independent. Your y value is your height, so your height is the dependent variable. X is always independent, Y is always dependent. So you could even, instead of writing out the words, you could draw an arrow above the word independent and just put time, and then draw an arrow above dependent and put height if you want, if that's easier for you. How long does it take the rocket to reach its maximum height? Well, let's take a look at this rocket. When does the rocket reach its maximum height? Well, that means where's the vertex? So I'm going to go to this. And I see that the rocket reaches its maximum height at what time? At 3 seconds. It takes 3 seconds for it to reach its maximum height. What is the maximum height? 144 feet. 144 feet. If you forget your units, are you going to get that 100% correct? No, you got to use time as seconds in feet. It'll tell you if your height is in feet or in meters, okay? How long does it take it to land? That's the same thing as saying how long is it in the air? Well, it started at time of 0. That's the order pair 0, 0. And it lands at 6, 0. So how long did it take it from its starting time to land? 6 seconds. During what interval of time is the rocket going up? Well, I'm going to just go to my drawing, my little sketch here. And I know that this is 3/144. This is where it changed directions. So when it first started, it was going up. For how many seconds did it go up? Yeah. So between the interval of 0 is less than x is less than 3. Between 0 and 3 seconds, it was going up. Remember, we don't include the 3 because that's the turning point. And during what interval of time was it falling to the ground? 3 is less than x is less than 6 seconds. And it stops at 6 seconds, right? It doesn't go on forever. What is a practical domain? Remember, domain is like, what are the points? Like, where do your intercepts lie? Well, the practical domain is x is less than or equal to 0 is less than or equal to 6. Anything after that is going to give you negative height. Anything after that is going to give you a negative height. Let me make this gigantic for a second. Anything after that is going to give you negative height. So here you are. Leave that there for a second. All right, question number 5. Heads up, guys and gals. We're not taking a nap. I want your heads up, engage. So question number 5 says, find the equation to the axis of symmetry. Well, we need to put this in standard form. This is not in standard form. How do I do that? How do I put this in standard form? The biggest degree term. So y equals negative 4x squared. And then what comes next? Minus 8x. And last, minus 8. Okay. How do I find the axis of symmetry? The opposite of b over 2 times a. Well, what is the opposite of the b term? What is the opposite of this term right here? Positive 8 over 2 times, what is the value of a? So I end up with a positive 8 over a negative 8. You guys should be writing this down. You're not just watching me and then filling in the answer. That's stupid. You should be writing this down. This is how you learn. You're being ridiculous if you're just sitting there doing nothing. So where does it cross the x-axis? Or not x-axis, sorry. What is the axis of symmetry? X equals what? If I just write negative 1, am I going to get that point? X equals negative 1. X equals negative 1. It says find the coordinates of the vertex of the graph of this function. Guys, just put it into Desmos. I'm just going to put this function into Desmos. So my function is 3x squared. Y equals 3x squared. Why are you not writing? Y. There we go. Not letting me share with the pen. Someone put that into Desmos. Who's got their calculator or their computer open? Why is that not doing that? Trying to get the... Guys, it's not letting me type on both screens. All right, well, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way because nobody else has Desmos up. So here we go. Axis of, oh, you got it? What'd you get? Where does the vertex? Where does that? Oh, put it in there. Keep your computer up. You're amazing. What is the vertex? So y equals 3x squared minus 4x plus 3. Yep, minus 4x plus 3. So touch the vertex. Y equals 3x squared minus 4x plus 3. You guys can do it in your calculator too. 3x squared minus 4x. Yeah, it's going to be. Do you see all those are fractions? Just take the pass and go because you can see on the clock. Y equals 3x squared minus 4x plus 3. So where does it go to? Where does it cross? Like, what's your vertex? Do you guys see it? Can I come and look at your paper? Because I can't see it on my screen. Y equals 3x squared minus 4x plus 3. So 0.66, that's 2/3, and 1.66, that's 1 2/3. So it crosses at 2/3 and 1 2/3. It crosses at 2/3 and 1 2/3. 2/3 and 1 2/3. We have to turn the mixed number 1 2/3 into a improper fraction. But this is the only one that has 2/3 in it. So this is where it crosses. The height of an object dropped from a cliff can be determined by the formula negative 16t squared plus 400, where h is the height of the object in feet and t is the elapsed time. How long will it take for the object to drop from the cliff to hit the ground? How long does it take to hit the ground? So let's graph that. Go to your calculator. Y equals. Do negative 16x squared in your handheld calculator. You guys got this. I know you can do it. So everyone should have their calculator, unless you're graphing it, plus 400. You want to see when it hits the ground. So go to your table, and remember, you know that it hits the ground when y equals 0. So look at your table. When does y equal 0? At 5 seconds. Y equals 0 at 5 seconds. Number 8, the height h of t in feet of an object thrown into the air with an initial velocity of 63 feet per second is given by the formula h of t is negative 16t squared plus 63t, where t is the time in seconds. What is the height of the object after 2 seconds? How can I solve this? What are your thoughts? Any ideas? Well, I can go to Desmos and I can, or to my calculator and put this in the y equals, and then just go to the table and see what happens when x equals 2. So put this into your y equals and then go to your table and see what happens when x equals 2. Yeah, it's 62 feet. 62 feet. You get that right from your table when x equals 2. This next one says solve. So go to y equals and put in x squared minus 18x plus 56. And then go to your table. And you want to find the 2 places where y equals 0. Find the 2 places on your table where y equals 0. So put it in your calculator. Y equals, come on, What are the two places that this equals 0?
Negative 14.
I did not get that. I didn't get negative 14 and negative. Did someone else get negative 14s? Yeah, so did I. I got a positive 4 and a positive 14. Positive 4 and yeah, right there. X is 4, y is 0, and then go down to 1. And then 14, right? Did you get 0? Yeah, I got positive 4 and positive 14. Jaden, did you put the equation in the right way? Okay, so answer choice B. Answer choice B. Okay, what are the roots? What are the roots? Put it into your calculator. Y equals 9x squared. Y equals 9x squared minus 49. Y equals 9x squared minus 49. You should also be able to factor this. What is this an example of? Yeah, difference of two squares. What is the square root of 9x squared? 3x. 3x. What is the square root of 49? So I have a 3x plus 7 and a 3x minus 7 equals 0. Well, if 3x plus 7 equals 0, and I subtract 7 and divide by 3, x equals negative 7/3. Or I could add 7 and divide by 3, x equals positive 7/3. So the answer you're looking for is plus or minus 7/3. Plus or minus 7/3. How are we going to solve number 11? Because you cannot put this into your calculator. It's not set equal to 0. How are you going to solve this? What do you have to do first? If you want to use your calculator, what do you have to do first? You have to subtract 12 from both sides. Set it equal to 0. So x squared minus 6x minus 40 equals 0. Then you can put it in your calculator and solve. Y equals x squared minus 6x minus 40. And then go to your table. Remember, when you go to your table, you're looking for the places that y equals 0. You're looking for the places that y equals 0. You should have 2 of them. Where are the 2 places in your table that y equals 0? What do you get, Uriah? Put that equation in, y equals. Then go to your table. Hayden, keep your head up. Get this bag off the desk. You're just using it as a pillow. Y equals. So, I don't think that said 400. I think it said 40. Y equals. Get rid of one of those zeros. Okay. Second table. Where are the 2 places that y equals 0? You pass one of them. What's that? Negative 4 and 10. Negative 4 and 10. You have to know how to do this. Negative 4 and 10. Which of the following is an x-intercept of this function? Which of the following is an x-intercept? So let's put that into our calculator. You can graph this if you want. Do you want to be the grapher for us, Amalia? Or not? You don't have to if you don't want to. You can. That's all right. You don't have to. Don't feel pressured. You can do it on your calculator or Desmos, whatever you want. You guys notice that we're looking for when x equals 0 or when y equals 0. And your table only gives you whole x values. Your table only gives you whole number x values. So I'm going to tell you what you don't see on your table. You see that when x is negative 2, y is negative 9. When x is negative 1, y is positive 5. When x is 0, y is 3. And when x is 1, y is negative 15. So it's already made its turn. Do you guys see that? It's already made its turn. It would have crossed through 0 somewhere here and somewhere here. So your roots are going to be in between negative 2 and negative 1, or in between positive 0 and 1. So it's not this one. It could be either one of these. So you're going to have to check it. You're going to have to put it into your calculator or graph it. Do you guys see what I'm saying? This one is something that you're going to have to look at Desmos on a graph, because you don't get this on your calculator, or you can plug and chug. See what happens when you use 0.25 in your calculator. So negative 8 parenthesis 0.25 squared. I feel like I'm the only one doing any work. Minus 10 parenthesis 0.25 plus 3. That gives me 0. So here's the correct answer. This one doesn't give me 0. All right. Which equation describes this function below? Well, what can you tell me about this function? What's one thing that you know from this table of values? What's one thing you know from this table of values? What? What's a 0? Yeah, negative 2 is a solution. X equals negative 2. So when we factor this, if I well, first of all, is this a linear function? Is this increasing by the same amount each time? No, it's not linear. Because if you put these in order, you do plus, like 5 plus 7 gives you 12. Like this, it's not linear. So get rid of these two. These are linear functions. So we have to factor these. Which one of these is going to produce a factor of negative 2? Well, this is the difference of squares. This factors into x plus 2 times x minus 2, which means my solutions are a positive 2 and a negative 2. This one factors into 2 times x squared minus 4, which means that I have a positive 2 and a negative 2 again. So it's got to be one of these. So how are you going to choose which one it is? Because both of these have a solution here. How are you going to choose? Yeah, pick one of the next points, right? Because you don't know what your y-intercept. So pick the next order pair. Let's see. If I plug 3 into this, what is 3 squared minus 4? If I plug 3 into this, what is 2 times 3 squared minus 8? Let's see. 3 squared is 9, minus 4 is 5. That matches this order pair. 3 squared is 9. 2 times 9 is 18. Minus 8 is 10. That doesn't match. So this is your answer. Did you guess it right, Noah? Okay. Number 14. Suppose this equation represents the value of a car from 1962 to 2002. What year did the car have the least value? What year did the car have the least value? Let's see if we can put it in Desmos. I can't do anything in Desmos. Okay. What is the equation? Y equals what? 20.8x squared minus 4 what? 458? Yeah. Okay. 458 x 0.3x 3500. Okay. So I see that. So y equals 20.8x squared minus 458.3x plus 3,500. Is that correct? Is that your guys' equation? Yes? Okay, so what's it asking us? What's the question asking? What year, if 0 is the year x equals 0 in 1964, what year did the car have the least value? So 1965 is x equals 1. 1970 x equals 6. You guys see how I'm calculating that? So I'm going to pull up a table. So when x is 1, my car is worth $3,062. When x is 2, it's worth $2,666. 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you guys see how it's going down? 9, 10, 11. What are the years that we're looking for? 12, 13. So what happens after 12? What does it do? It starts increasing. So my options are, this is 1 year after 1964. This is 6 years. This is 11 years. And this is 16 years. So what did we say? Let's look at what happens when x is 11 and when x is 16. When x is 11, my car is worth $975. When x is 16, it's worth way more. So 11 years. So you're going to choose 11 years, which is actually 1975. Because this is really important. It says x is 0 in the year 1964. So that means that this represents 1 year. You guys see how we did that? You have to know how to do that, okay? Compare the function f of x equals negative 2x squared plus 6x plus 7 to the graph of the quadratic function that includes these ordered pairs. What statement is true? Which graph has a greater maximum? So let's talk about this. Let's talk about g of x, first of all. Let's look at the table. Where is the turning point? The turning point is right here. How do I know that? Because my y values are starting to repeat, right? Do you notice that this is the maximum? Because positive 10 is the highest that it goes. So right here is your vertex. Has a maximum of 10. Let's graph this one into Desmos. Negative 2x squared plus 6x plus 7. So I'm going to put that one into Desmos. Negative 2x squared plus 6x plus 7. So what's the maximum here? What is that point? Yeah, it's 11.5. The maximum is 11.5. So which one has a greater maximum? Hello, which one has a greater maximum? F of x. F of x has a max at 11.5. So f of x has a greater maximum. That's your answer. So you have to be able to look at a table of values and find your max or your min. You have to be able to look at a table of values and find your maximum or your minimum. Number 16, Joseph compared the function f of x equals 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 to the quadratic function that fits this table below. What is true? What is true? Caden, pick your head up and pick up your pencil right now. So I'm going to graph this one. Okay. So when I put this one into my graph, y equals 3x squared plus 2x minus 1. Is it -1 plus 2x minus 1? So the questions are, do they have the same y-intercepts? Do they have the same x-intercepts? Do they have the same vertex? Or do they have the same axis of symmetry? So what do we know about this function? It has a minimum, and the minimum is at -4/3. That's what we know about that one. What do we know about the g of x function? Do we know anything about it, really? Can you figure out what the equation is? We'll come back to that one. I'm scanning my answers because we are never going to get through this. During which interval is the function shown on the graph below increasing? So you guys had this question, exactly this question. It just wasn't a multiple choice question on your test, right? What does it mean that the function is increasing? It means that the y values are starting to do what? Go up instead of go down. And the change in direction happens at the vertex. So when you look at the axis of symmetry, remember that's how it splits your graph. So when I look at on this side, the y values are getting smaller. Like when x is -5, y is 0. When x is -3 or -4, y is -7. These are -5. They're getting smaller. When x is -5, it's at 0. Y is at 0. And when x is -4, y is at -5. Do you see that? The y values are getting smaller. But then once I get to the turning point or the vertex, the y values start to get bigger. They're increasing. So you have to figure out what interval does that increase take place. And it's at all of the numbers that are, all of the x values that are bigger than -2. All of the x values that are greater than -2. All right, the table below shows the value of the function f of x for various values of x. Which statement describes f of x over the interval of 0 to 3? So let's just graph this because I think that'll help you guys. So we want to know what happens between 0 and 3. So 1, 2, 3. When x is 0, what is my output? Look at your table. When x is 0, what is my output? When x is 0, my output is -4. When x is 1, my output is -3. When x is 2, my output is 0. And when x is 3, my output is 5. Is this increasing or decreasing? It's increasing. The function is increasing. What does it mean by the function is positive or negative? We had a question like this in our homework. Remember, positive or negative means it lies above the x-axis is positive. Negative means it lies below the x-axis. Okay. Match the number and the type of solution with each equation. So if you graph these, if you graph in Desmos, what are you looking for? You're trying to see where it crosses the what? Yeah. You want to see where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay. You want to see where the graph crosses the x-axis. I'm just going to put it into my table of values. So y equals x squared minus 7x plus 12. And when I go to my table, I'll be able to see I have a root at -3 and a root at -4. That's what that one is. So you guys decide which one it models. The next one, x squared minus 2x minus 15. When you go to your table of values, it has a root at -3, and it also has a root at +5. And then my last one, when I like input this into my table or my y equals x squared plus 3x plus 2, and put it into my table, I see that it has an intercept of -1 and -2. So number 20 has two negative solutions. Number 21 is C. It has a positive and a negative solution. And 22 also has two negative solutions. I did that just for my table of values, seeing where it crosses. So if you're graphing it in Desmos, you can just look at it. Okay, so that's it. That is it for our review.